The silent house, the rain hadn't let up all evening, falling in steady sheets against the windshield of Daniel's beat-up Toyota. His wipers squeaked across the glass, trying their best to keep the world ahead visible. The town always felt smaller on nights like this, like the shadows pressed closer, hiding the usual familiarity behind a veil of darkness. Daniel rubbed his eyes and checked the delivery app. It buzzed, lighting the inside of the car with its pale glow. A new order. The total was decent, enough to keep him out another hour. But when he looked at the address, his stomach tightened. It was far out, past the edge of town where streetlights grew sparse and the map blurred into winding country roads. He almost declined, thumb hovering over the red reject button, but the app chimed again. Priority order, double pay. He sighed, muttered, easy money, and accepted. The directions dragged him down streets he barely recognized. Houses grew farther apart, swallowed by trees that arched overhead like skeletal fingers. The rain softened into a mist, clinging to his windshield in thin sheets. His phone, GPS, flickered once, then steadied. Finally, the pin dropped him in front of a house that looked more like a shadow than a home. It sat crouched behind untrimmed hedges, its paint stripped gray by time. Not a single light shone inside. The porch sagged, warped planks shining wet beneath the rain. Daniel sat in the car longer than he meant to, staring at the place. Something about it didn't look lived in. Still, the food smelled warm and heavy in the seat beside him, and he told himself someone was probably just waiting for dinner inside, too lazy to put on a porch light. He grabbed the bag, pulled his hood over his head, and jogged through the drizzle up to the porch. The doorbell was dead. He pressed it once, twice, but nothing happened. With a shrug, he knocked. Sound echoed strangely to hollow, like the house was empty inside. No answer. Hello, he called. His voice felt swallowed by the wet air. Just as he turned to leave the bag, the door creaked open an inch, slow and dragging, as if pushed by no one at all. Daniel froze, staring into the gap. The darkness inside seemed thicker than it should have been, like fog packed into a hallway. He leaned forward, peering in, his pulse climbing. Delivery for, Sarah. He tried, voice cracking. Silence. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Relief surged. Maybe it was the customer clarifying. He yanked it out. The message wasn't normal. It wasn't in the app's usual chat box with names and timestamps. Instead, it just sat there on the screen. Leave the food inside. Daniel blinked. That wasn't possible. Customers couldn't just inject messages into the app like that. He stared at it, thumb hovering, until the text disappeared, replaced by the ordinary delivery screen. A prickle ran down his neck. He should have left right then, but something pulled him forward. Maybe curiosity, maybe that stubborn part of him that needed to finish the job. He nudged the door wider with his foot. The smell hit him first. Damp wood, mildew, and beneath it, something metallically like pennies, sharp and coppery. He stepped inside, shoes squeaking against the warped floorboards. The air was cold, unnaturally so, and heavy, as if it hadn't been breathed in a long time. The entryway was barren. A dusty table stood against one wall, its surface layered in grime. He set the food bag down quickly, already turning back. That's when he heard it. Footsteps. Upstairs. Slow, deliberate, like someone pacing across a bedroom. Daniel froze, his mouth went dry. He hadn't seen any lights on, no sign of life. Yet the steady thump of steps moved across the ceiling above him. His phone buzzed again. He fumbled it out, praying for an explanation, a rational reason. Don't leave yet. I haven't eaten in a long time. His stomach dropped. Every instinct screamed at him to get out. He spun toward the door, but his eyes snagged on something to the left. Family portraits lined the wall, their frames crooked and dusty. At first, he almost found comfort in them, proof that people lived here. But when he looked closer, he saw the faces. They were all scratched out. Deep gouges had been dragged across the glass and paper, obliterating every expression. Children, parents, grandparents, erased with violent strokes. The footsteps upstairs quickened, now moving toward the staircase. Daniel bolted. He didn't look back as he sprinted through the doorway, rain hitting his face like needles. Behind him, the laughter began. High-pitched mocking, not a child's, not an adult's, something in between, broken, wrong. It followed him down the porch steps, echoing from the walls of the house, until it sounded like dozens of voices cackling together. His sneakers slipped on the wet grass, but he didn't stop. He threw himself into the driver's seat, fumbling the keys. The engine coughed, sputtered, and then roared alive. As he pulled away, tires hissing over the wet road, he dared one glance back. The house loomed in the mist, still dark, still silent except for the faint outline of someone standing at the upstairs window, watching him. His phone buzzed one last time on the seat beside him. Against his better judgment, he looked. The order had been marked complete, but underneath, in gray letters that weren't part of the app's design, it read, "See you again soon, Daniel." The phone slipped from his hand. He gripped the wheel tighter, heart hammering. He didn't know who or what lived in that house, but he knew one thing for certain: they knew his name. The basement order. 2 weeks had passed since the night at the silent house, but Daniel hadn't been able to shake it. Sleep came in short, uneasy bursts, broken by the memory of laughter echoing from the walls and the text that had called him by name. He told no one, not his roommate, not his manager. How could he? It sounded insane. Still, bills didn't stop piling up, and he couldn't afford to quit delivering. Most nights had been normal since then, just greasy takeout to impatient customers. Normal enough that he'd almost convinced himself it was a trick of his mind. Until tonight. The rain had returned, though softer this time, a mist drifting under the yellow streetlights. Daniel sat in his car outside a burger joint, sipping flat soda while the app refreshed. The new order appeared suddenly, flashing on his screen like it had forced its way through. Delivery assigned, 412 Willow Lane. The note below made his stomach clench. Use the side door. Bring the food to the basement. Daniel stared, shaking his head. No, he wasn't doing this again. His thumb pressed the reject button, but the app froze. The screen flickered white, then resettingly the same order remained. He swallowed. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe this was just a weird customer with stranger than usual instructions. He told himself that 3 times, then hit accept. Willow Lane turned out to be an ordinary street, lined with trimmed lawns and glowing porch lights. The house itself looked harmless, a new fur neat 2-story with cream siding and a bright red door. Nothing like the rotting husk from before. Still, every instinct screamed at him to keep driving. He parked anyway, grabbing the bag of food. The front steps were clean, the welcome mat dry. He knocked, praying someone normal would answer. No response. He knocked again, louder. Still nothing. His phone buzzed. He lifted it with a hand that trembled. Side door. The text didn't come from the app. It glowed across the entire screen. Black letters on a gray background. Daniel's throat tightened. He should have left. He should have thrown the bag on the porch and driven off, but his feet carried him around the side of the house almost without permission. The side door was unlocked. It creaked open too easily, revealing a narrow hallway that smelled of rot and damp stone. His shoes stuck slightly on the linoleum as he stepped inside. "Hello," he called, voice cracking. "Orders here." Silence answered. At the end of the hallway, a door gaped open. Stairs descended into shadow. The air colder than outside, sharp with a stench like spoiled meat. Daniel froze at the top step. His hands sweated against the bag. He knew he shouldn't go down. Every nerve in his body begged him to leave. But the same pressure that had drawn him into the silent house pressed on him again, an unseen pull, dragging him downward. He descended slowly, each wooden step groaning under his weight. The light overhead flickered, then steadied, illuminating the basement. The room was nearly empty. A single bulb swung from the ceiling, casting weak light across bare concrete. In the corner sat a small table. Against the opposite wall, slumped in a heap, were delivery bags, dozens of them. Daniel's stomach lurched. The bags were old, torn, some covered in mold. Logos from restaurants long out of business marked their sides. He recognized them for what they were. Drivers had been here before him. They hadn't left. His phone buzzed. His shaking hand lifted it, placed the food on the table. Daniel's breath came shallow. He stepped forward and set the bag down. The paper crinkled loudly in the silence. He turned to leave but froze. Something moved in the shadows beyond the swinging bulb. A shape crouched low, its limbs too long, its skin stretched thin and gray over jutting bones. It shifted, and the light caught its face. Its mouth gaped too wide, teeth jagged and uneven, lips cracked and blackened. Its eyes glowed faintly yellow, fixed on him with hunger. When it spoke, the sound was worse than its appearance, raspy, childlike, almost sing-song. "Thank you, Daniel." The others never came back. The food bag crinkled as long fingers tore into it, greasy wrappers spilled onto the floor. The creature ignored them, its attention snapping back to him. Its grin stretched wider. Daniel stumbled back, slamming into the stair railing. His breath came in panicked gasps. He bolted for the steps. Heart hammering, the creature shrieked, a sound like laughter and screams blended together. It lunged, claws scraping against the concrete as it bounded forward. Daniel scrambled up the stairs 2 at a time, nearly slipping. He slammed the basement door shut behind him, fumbling for the lock. Claws raked the wood, the door shuddering under the force. The bulb below popped, plunging the basement into darkness. He ran. Through the hallway, through the side door, back into the misty night. He didn't stop until he reached the street, lungs burning. Only then did he realize his phone was still in his hand. The screen glowed, delivery completed. The message sat beneath a dull gray bar. Below it, in smaller letters, something new appeared. Tip added, "Your life." Daniel dropped the phone like it had burned him. He didn't look back at the house as he sprinted to his car. The police found nothing. When Daniel reported the address, an officer drove out the next morning. He returned with a puzzled shrug. The house had been empty, furniture gone, basement sealed over with fresh concrete. No side door, no delivery bags. His manager didn't believe him either. "You sure you weren't just tired?" she asked, eyes skeptical. Daniel quit that night. He deleted the app, uninstalled every trace of it from his phone. He told himself he was done. But at midnight, as he lay in bed, his phone lit up on the nightstand. The screen glowed white, then black text scrolled across. New order assigned. Delivery due midnight. No accept button. No decline, just the address. His own.